bus flight leaves at 1 in the morning. Um, Many flights headed to Hawaii have been canceled and turned around. And what most of the ships that have just got information that the fact that maybe all ships in the city will be in Hawaii, and he said if there was some type of a cyber threats within Hawaii, this particular document that was just extended to the president that had nothing to do with the decision to come in, just happened today. This is basically saying this area of Hawaii, I'm sure we'll get updates in the press about people on the way and others will tell us this is not the case. The mayor's talking about maybe actually being able to see emergency exits from areas in Hawaii. And many yes, many areas were evacuated and areas were evacuated from emergency exits include the city of TSUNAMI, and consumers have been evacuated are simply not sufficient to house people looking for shelter. They really need to keep the hospitals obviously open for the people who need acute care. Some of them jobs that some of them will give people who have mental struggles, mental illnesses, and speaking of mental illnesses, we know that one doctor from Ireland has gone into the city's ambulance department and has asked ambulances in the city to tell us that safe on our shores and on our streets. Tell us what you folks are doing tonight. We were talking earlier about how you're gearing up with some extra staff. First of all, among paramedics and ambulances tonight, we want to thank you for doing what days we work a lot. We call our personnel. We have 6 extra ambulances we put on tonight. We're in the process of standing up to respond to medical emergencies. We have half a dozen paramedics and people who are seeking evacuation, and we've referred them to other sources. We did transport one out of the way. We just couldn't get out of bed. It was very dangerous. We knew that as a community service, but we're trying to reserve emergency ambulances for emergencies. They have a massive cost to them. We have some really true emergencies that warrant an ambulance, and we're trying to use those resources for that. We're working very closely with the fire department, the police, everyone down here in the EOC, the mayor's here, and we're all working, I think, as a big team to just try to make sure we provide a blanket of coverage for the city and county. And you have 19 ambulances on this island, right? And you were saying you have 6 extra crews in addition to that. They're mobile and with actual units able to travel? Right. And we've recalled personnel. They've come in. Our department's great about that. We've got a lot of people volunteer, and so we've been able to put up these extra ambulances, a few of our disaster response vehicles, and we've also engaged some of the lifeguards. They've come in and are on standby in case we need, jet ski rescue or that sort of thing as dawn approaches. But we're in a ready mode now. We have the extra personnel and really ready to go. And I just want to thank all of our people who've come in, on short notice and just really helped out in this time of potential emergency. Thank you very much, Dr. Jim Ireland from the EMS department. And we'll let you go back to work inside there. And we'll actually take you right inside there. Kevin's going to go inside while I continue talking. I will show you how crowded it is inside here. This is the Emergency Operating Center of the Department of Emergency Management. These are department heads and liaisons from key city departments, from the bus, from the police department, the fire department, and all city departments. They are all here coordinating the emergency response. Also, people answering phone calls. Now, a couple of additional notes that they tell me here from the Department of Emergency Management, that they expect a complete evacuation by 2 o'clock in the morning. That means that roads will be closed in those inundation areas at 2 a.m. You won't be able to get into inundation zones starting at 2 a.m. Of course, you will continue to be able to get out of inundation zones because they want you to get out and be safe. Again, hospitals seeing a lot of frail elderly residents here are encouraged to evacuate to safe locations, not to evacuate to hospitals. You heard the head of the emergency management, the emergency medical services, the ambulance is saying, please don't call an ambulance for an evacuation. They are simply not set up for that. They need to be ready for the people who do have emergencies, true medical emergencies. Again, a full evacuation expected at 2 a.m. That's when they're going to have roadblocks up. You won't be able to get into inundation areas. Of course, you will be able to continue to get out to them. You're going to see civil defense volunteers there. You're going to see police cutting off the roads, getting close to the shoreline as the tsunami approaches. And of course, it's expected to hit here on Oahu at approximately 20 minutes after 3 a.m. Again, the first waves hitting, but a series of waves. It's not just one wave. We have to be ready for a series of those. And the folks down here are geared up and ready as they can be. Also, they tell me that emergency bus shuttles will be operating. All buses simply turn into shuttles, going through the inundation area, picking people up and getting them out. They know that there are some folks who don't have access to cars and will need to get picked up and taken to safe spots, to refuge sites. They're not calling them shelters officially, just refuge sites, district parks all around the island that are not in inundation zones. So for now, that is the latest from the Civil Defense Emergency Operating Center. Back to you, Paul.
Thanks, Kyoki. And you were talking about those folks wanting to be evacuated or wanting a safe place to go to. We want to go ahead and turn things over to Shane Enright. She's been over in Kailua, and she's been following evacuations over on the windward side of Oahu. Shane, what's been happening?
Well, good evening. Kailua is beginning to look like a ghost town out here, where the Honolulu Fire Department and the police department have been going up and down every street. If you're familiar with Kailua, Kalaheo Avenue runs along Kailua Bay, so they've made their way down Kalaheo Avenue, and they're now making their way back Kainalu, just over their horn. They're just trying to get the word out to just get out of your homes. Do not stay here. It is not the time to take the risk. I remember covering this the last time we had the tsunami scare, and we didn't have this. I never saw the HSD fire, and police department out there trying to get people out of their homes immediately. So this is something new, something we haven't seen. For the most part, people are adhering to the warnings. Others, they are staying put. So it's going to be, we're going to have to wait and see if the officials are actually going to go into these homes and actually order them out at this time. And we definitely will be staying here. We're actually pulled over at the HSD substation here, where there is nobody around. I can hear the phone just ringing off the hook. And as Kyoki mentioned, it's not a good idea to call 911 unless it really is an emergency. That's all we got from here, Paul.
All right, thank you very much, Shane. Of course, things, even though it is late in the night, we're getting lots of reports of things that won't be closed, or they're closing right now, that won't be open over the next few hours. We just got reports that the Kaiser clinics on 3 different islands will be closed, on Oahu and 2 other islands until further notice. We'll keep giving you updates when we get them as far as things that will be open and things that will be closed. We mentioned earlier about the airports being closed. A number of airports are already closed. The Honolulu International Airport is expected to be closed after its last flight leaves at 1 a.m. And of course, with the airports closing, that will disrupt a lot of commerce, a lot of business for tomorrow. And speaking of businesses being disrupted for tomorrow, we did also get an update from the State Department of Transportation that the zipper lane will be closed for those folks driving into work tomorrow. Those lanes will be closed, so that way those tsunami warning signs will be able to be posted by the state. We want to have the latest on what's going on with the island weather and also that tsunami warning. We're going to turn things over to Moani. Moani, what's the latest?
Hey, Paul, just want to give everybody an update. Again, this tsunami warning was issued at 9:30 this evening for the state of Hawaii, and this will run until 7 a.m. Friday. The first wave, the estimated time of arrival is still at 3:07 a.m. This is according to the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. So again, this means that a tsunami is confirmed. Now, the state of Hawaii is under this warning. We are also under this warning with Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, Central and South America, and the rest of the Pacific Ocean. That warning has also expanded to include the western coast of the United States, as well as Canada, from the Mexican border to Alaska. So just an update there. And I want to take you out right now to another part of our ground. hour ago, this broke out near the southern flank of Kilauea volcano, a magnitude 4.6 earthquake. This is not going to amplify the tsunami on its way to the islands in any way. It did not, according to the latest reports, cause any damage in that area. But again, this is a very small earthquake. Now, I want to also take you back out to the center of why this tsunami was triggered in the first place. Now, we did have an earthquake that broke out earlier this evening, just before the 8 o'clock hour Hawaii time. This broke out right off the east coast of the main island of Japan. This is Honshu Island. It broke out just off the east coast. This magnitude was 8.9, which is a very strong, significantly strong earthquake. That did cause some damage along the coastline there. The epicenter just over 200 miles away from Tokyo. And keep in mind that earlier this week, near this area, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake broke out, and that did trigger a tsunami earlier this week. That tsunami did generate some waves into the Ofunato harbor, but the waves only came up to about 2 feet high. This evening, though, again, this earthquake did trigger a tsunami for this area of Japan. Those waves built up to at least 32 feet in height. The lowest wave checking in at 10 feet. So this is the reason why we have this tsunami warning issued for Hawaii. We are still waiting for word on the latest from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center on any updates on the timing, on possibly the series of waves that they are anticipating that'll come into the island. So as that information comes in, Paul, I will again pass it on to you folks at the anchor desk. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Moani. Of course, we'll keep everyone informed as far as what's going on, what's open, what's closed during this emergency. Again, a tsunami warning for the islands. And if you've been watching us over the past few hours, you'll notice a change. Paul has been hard at work here at the anchor desk, but joining us now is Mahealani Richardson, giving Paula a little bit of a break.
Yeah, thanks, right. Paula hasn't left. She's working hard in the newsroom right now. But let's go to Laurel Yamada. She's been at the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center getting the latest information. Laura, what can you tell us?
Standing by for about a little more than a half an hour now. Chip McQuarrie from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. He's in the back room there, clustered with a bunch of scientists. I poked my head back there a few minutes ago to see when they might be coming out, and all of them had phones attached to their ears, and they were staring at computer screens and printing. So obviously trying to get the latest information for us as soon as they possibly can. Now, what we do know is that at about 11:30, that's when they got what was probably their first significant indicator coming off of a buoy around Wake Island, to get an estimate, an idea as to what we might be seeing, to see if they might need to update the models and update the information they've been giving us so far. Last we heard, they were still sticking to that potential 6-foot tsunami wave coming our way. But in the meantime, we were pulled into a back conference room, and you might have seen some of the video a little earlier this evening of a tsunami forecast model that they showed us that was taken about an hour after the earthquake in Japan, giving an idea as to what they called the ray pattern of waves coming towards the islands. A pretty vivid model showing the different wave heights and also the variations as to what could be hitting us at different times. So that gave you an indication as to just how complicated of a situation they're trying to deal with here. I asked Chip a little earlier about what they learned from the last tsunami warning they had a little over a year ago, and they said it's generally the same as far as what they're studying and looking at, but they were able to get a little more accurate information, so they're counting on that and hoping by the time they actually do come out, they're going to be able to give us the best possible estimates that they can. So we've been keeping a close eye on that door there. Again, it's a little bit, about a half an hour or 40 minutes so past when they were expecting to come out here and give us that information. But again, they told us that it does take some time, about up to a half an hour at least, to get the information and to analyze the information from the Wake Island, which is the last one, at about 11:30. So hopefully in the next few minutes we'll be able to give you an update and some information as to what they found out so far. Midway Island is the next island they expect to get some information from, probably coming in around this time too. So hopefully, again, in the next few minutes, we'll be able to give you a little more information as far as what they know. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Thanks a lot, Laura. And you know, we were listening to what Chip McCreary was saying from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, and the basic gist of it that I got was that he said the waves could be potentially damaging but not devastating. You know, we've been seeing these images of that tsunami in Japan, totally devastating. So can you give us the difference and elaborate on what he said?
Well, of course, he wanted to make clear that this is something that's going to be wrapping around the island, so it's not something like a surf wave coming in. He wanted to clarify that first. But he said there's a big difference because chances are, first of all, it's going to be quite a bit smaller. It should diminish in force, but then again, it's not necessarily the first wave that may be the most powerful. But he said the areas that would potentially be hit by a wave about this height, chances are the majority of the structures that we have here in the islands that are potentially in danger would be able to sustain that for the most part. And the evacuation zones that they have put in place, those updated evacuation zones that people can find at the front of their phone books, that should very much keep people safe and out of harm's way. So if they're taking a look at those models and heeding the warnings that are out there right now, they should feel very comfortable. The majority of the people on the island feel very comfortable being in a safe area, even if it's just moving a few blocks in, possibly a little higher up in the apartment building that they're in. He's pretty confident, at least at this point in time, that people should be able to get to a safe area.
And last year when we had the tsunami warning, much smaller tsunami for our islands, I was over in Hilo and I got to see some of the effects of that tsunami less than 2 feet. And most of us didn't even notice any effect of that tsunami. But when that came into the Hilo area and the waters were rushing in and rushing out, I went down by the Wailoa River where there were boats docked, and you could see the water rising and falling just in a matter of minutes, about 3 feet, and it potentially could have damaged those boats if they weren't tied up securely or anything like that. And that was a much smaller tsunami than the one we potentially could have here. So there could be some damage for those areas that are right on the coastal waterways, and especially areas where the waves may get focused in, places like harbors, boat harbors, especially north-facing harbors like the Hilo Harbor, the Kahului Harbor, as well as the other north-facing harbors in the island.
That's right, Laura, and they're saying that they're using the historical data from this last tsunami warning and in other tsunamis that we've had in tsunami warnings. And in terms of the areas, they're looking at Haleiwa, Hilo, that could be getting some of those waves, slightly less for Kahului. What else are they doing right now in terms of the modeling and forecasting of this? Because, you know, they used the last tsunami warning as a learning lesson, and I remember Charles McCreary saying that they now have some enhanced modeling that they're using. Laura?
Sorry about the Mejia. Yeah, they say that this was a growth process from the last tsunami warning, so they are as confident as they can be at this point that they're going to be able to give people the best estimates that they possibly can. He was quick to emphasize that, again, this is not a perfect science. So, and as you saw in those, some people saw in those models earlier that they showed us of those rays of waves that are coming our way, not only is it difficult to predict the potential wave height that's going to be coming our way, but it's a very irregular pattern. So they have no choice but to, for the most part, estimate what may hit in different areas. And again, what may happen on Wake Island or Midway Island, you also, of course, have to remember that's a very different topography there as well. So it may hit it in a very different way, but because of the way that our islands are shaped, we may not get as much of an impact. But again, that is why that even at 12:45 here this evening, we have it's been over an hour now since we've heard some kind of an update, but they're doing their best to get us the most accurate update they possibly can. Maya?
Thanks a lot, Laura. We really appreciate it. Laura Yamada reporting live from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, getting the latest information. And now we have some video of all of those shoppers. You know, all of us in Hawaii are well aware of what to do when there is a tsunami warning. And this is some video from the Safeway there. I can tell you that as soon as we heard the warning, my husband went to Safeway, and long lines, as usual, people getting batteries, food, water. Those gas lines are really long. I hope your family is prepared as well, Paul.
They are prepared for not just for this, but for emergencies. We have an emergency kit at home, and so of course we didn't need to rush out and go to the store, so didn't need to get out and get in those gas lines. And once again, for those folks that aren't in the inundation zone, they don't need to be heading out to the stores. But we also wanted to hear from some of the shoppers that are in the stores.
What are you going to do now?
Why would they close early? It's 12:30. It's not worth closing time. I guess I'll go down the street and see if I can find another store.